Hey guys, welcome to another podcast. So, the past couple weeks we've talked about meditation, and I feel like it's time to go back into a bit of training talk, especially since I got a question last week, and I actually got this question a few weeks before that too, very similar to it. It's a question of Sean. I've followed your blog for a while, and I've seen on your weekly recaps you post your favorite workout of the week, the best workout that went well. And the question was, they see that I'm not doing a structured program by somebody. And I think in this fitness culture, I feel like people are always thinking you need to be doing this program designed by a certain professional or a certain power lifter, a certain bodybuilder. Bodybuilding.com has tons of programs, so you would think you should be following some of them. Is what a lot of people think. But for me personally, I've always enjoyed creating my own madness programs. I've always enjoyed making my own training programs. It's as simple just because I know my body best. I know my body, what it works with, what it doesn't. And for instance, if I'm training in my own program and it's not going well, then I know, for instance, I can change it because I know that I made a mistake and I'm evaluating my own program and I can make adjustments from there. For instance, for me, I know that I prefer, and I know a lot of people prefer like 4 to 5 sets of an exercise. I prefer only doing 3 sets, but doing more exercises. A lot of programs you'll see have you prescribed, 4 to 5 sets and maybe only, 5 different exercises. Well, I'm doing only 3 sets per exercise, but I'm doing maybe like 10 different exercises, for instance. And that's all personal preference. I have training ADHD pretty much where I'm always needing to change it up. I'm always needing variety, and I always liked providing myself with a lot of options to do that. And that's another reason I've always tended to build my own training programs, because the only person that trains like me pretty much is the good old, Arnold workouts or Frank Zane or Franco Columbo. I train a lot like the golden days of bodybuilding. I do a lot of things like what they used to do back then. I do a lot of things very similar to Dave Draper's training sessions. And the funny thing is, Arnold was always, an inspiration. But after I was training for a while, I started reading other people's books, other classic bodybuilders' books. And I came across like Dave Draper's book that I just finished, that a review will be up on my blog this week. But his book talked about different training philosophies. And here, I didn't even know it, but I have very similar training philosophies to Dave Draper, one of the best bodybuilders in history. He preferred to train 5 days a week. He preferred an upper-lower type of template. He preferred only 3 sets of exercise and varying different intensities and volume, and providing more exercises. So it's kind of funny that some of my training philosophy is built upon these old-fashioned bodybuilders that made amazing physiques. Drugs or no drugs, I don't really care. That's just the way I've preferred always to train. And nowadays, a lot of programs just have you doing a lot of weird stuff. I mean, I see so much weird things out there, and yeah, they're fun to try on occasions and stuff, but I've always felt like just a basic program is what works best. 3 sets of, 8 to 12 reps, and, on your last set doing a drop set or a strip set or a run the rack set or a mechanical drop set. You could really mix it up that way. And I've always preferred to train like that. So the question arises now, today, how to build your own training program. Because I know a lot of people will, get out a piece of paper and not even know where to begin. I was there once. I mean, I've always been a fan of writing programs. In my spare time, I'm always, brainstorming new ways to train, new sets and reps and percentage progressions and new ways to get stronger. Just today at my desk, I randomly had an idea pop into my head, an idea for a second version of the SHDUPA program I created. SHDUPA stands for Strength Hypertrophy Daily Undulating Periodization Adaptation, and that program is on my site that you can buy right now. But I came up actually just out of the clear blue today at my desk at work. I thought of a new idea to make a micro version of that, so I really quick jotted it down. And that's how my brain thinks. I think of these weird sets and progressions all day long, just randomly pop into my head. And that's how you know you have a passion for something too, when you just can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop thinking about how to fix things and improve things, make your training better. So today I'm going to provide you with just a few quick things to keep in mind when building a program. So first of all, when building a program, you have to figure out the right amount of days to train. Now that may be 3 days, that may be 4 days, maybe 5 days, and for the occasional person, 6 days. And I never recommend 7 days. But you got to find that amount of days that works for you. The next thing you got to keep in mind is naturally built-in daily undulating periodization. So DUP stands for daily undulating periodization. Now, when people hear this word, they think of bench, squat, and deadlift. Well, let me say right now, this has nothing to do with bench, squat, and deadlift. You can build a whole DUP program based upon bodybuilding exercises. For instance, you could have a heavy bench day on Monday and have a higher rep bench day later on the week. You could do heavier curls on Monday too and do lighter weight curls later on in the week. Preferably, this has been a very, very strong evidence-based approach to getting stronger and getting size in your training. And this is really, just based upon, Lane Norton's old program of power hypertrophy adaptation training, which was PHAT, for those of you that did that for a long time. That was basically, training 2 different rep ranges a week, one in the 3 to 5 rep range and another in the 8 to 12 rep range. That is pretty much how I train nowadays, and that's how I recommend a lot of people train, because it allows you to hit all rep ranges, which is the most beneficial thing you can do. So when designing a program, keep in mind your rep ranges. You want to experience those 3 to 5 rep range days. You want to experience those 8 to 12 rep days. And you also want to have some blood flow restriction in there in the 15 to 30 rep range. That's going to cover all your bases for different muscle type fibers, for hitting different muscle type fibers with different lifts and different intensities and different volumes. The next thing you have to come up with is volume-wise, sets times reps times weight lifted. How do you program that into a training program? Well, the easy way to go about this, because I'm all about finding the easiest way to program things, is lower volume, higher intensities beginning of the week when you're fresh, so you can lift heavier and your workouts won't be as long, but you can lift heavier and get your maximum intensity work in. And then the rest of the week is the higher volume, lower intensity part. So, for instance, 3 to 5 reps, or 3 to 5 sets on Monday and Tuesday with upper and lower. And then the rest of the week, you can jump into 8 to 12 rep range. And for lower intensity, meaning lower weight lifted, but higher rep ranges. So that also goes with rep ranges too. So once you get that down, things start to come together. Next up is exercise selection. So for most people, I'm talking majority of people, they want to look strong, they want to be strong, and they want to look strong. And that's what I'm all about. That's how I train. That's how I train for. I'm always enjoying the process of getting stronger, but at the same time, I do so much hypertrophy work because I love looking like a bodybuilder. So I like to program simply different things for different muscle groups. For instance, for chest, I'm always making sure I have some type of heavy pressing movement, whether it be a bench press or a reverse grip dumbbell bench press, or a regular bench press, a regular dumbbell press for that compound. Then I always prefer having some type of incline deal. So it's either an incline press or an incline fly, something to just balance out the chest. A lot of people just do flat work and develop just a weak upper chest. And yes, you can target the upper chest. I laugh when I hear people say you can't, because you look at people that don't do incline stuff or shoulder presses, and stuff, and their upper chest lacks. And that's just proof that you need to put some stuff in there for incline chest. So I always like to include an incline chest movement, and that's about it. I mean, for chest, I keep things so simple. I never do cable flies anymore. I used to hammer my chest with so much weird different volume and stuff, and I just keep it simple. I hit bench 2 times a week. I hit some dumbbell presses, incline and flat, and maybe throw in a dumbbell fly here and there, but that's pretty much all I do for chest. Chest gets plenty of work through other stuff, I think. Plus, if you're benching a couple times a week too, that's going to really just be enough for chest, in my opinion, and in my experience. Next up is back. Now, back is different. Back, I like to hammer. Back gets targeted for me pretty much every single day of the week in one way or another. So, for instance, when I'm training back, I always like to have a pull-down movement, a rowing movement, and a pullover movement. And then maybe if I still have some time at the gym, I'll throw in one bonus back movement. So on either another row or pull down, depending on what equipment's open or what I feel like doing. And for back, I really prefer training, in that 8 to 12 rep range, and really just hammering it and spreading it throughout the week too. So for instance, Monday will be the pull, row, and pull over, and then later on the week will be another pull, row, and pull over, but different rep ranges. Heavy in the beginning of the week, lighter in the end. That's a good way to go about it. Another thing I do for back too is on every leg day. You might have noticed this if you follow my blog. I throw in pull-ups at the end of every leg workout, and the reason being is just to maintain my pull-up strength, because I came from a background of doing a ton of gymnastics, circuit type training, calisthenic stuff, and I used to be able to do so many pull-ups, like 20 to 30 pull-ups just from the ground and jump up there. So it's something I kind of want to really maintain, and it's a great core exercise too. A lot of people think it's just back, and pull-ups are actually just a great exercise to be able to do. So since I don't throw pull-ups in on my back days, I like throwing them in on the end of my leg days. It's just kind of finisher. It also stretches out your lower back too. When you're doing pull-ups, after squats and stuff, or deadlifts if you deadlift, it just stretches things out, makes you feel good. Next up is shoulders. So shoulders are kind of a tricky one, because shoulders can interfere with your bench volume. If you're trying to get a stronger bench press, programming shoulders, when to do presses and whatnot, can be a real problem. Sometimes I'm only doing shoulder presses maybe one time a week. It depends on which training block I'm in. Because if my bench, I will never, let me say this. This is a good rule to follow. You should never do shoulder presses the day right before a bench session. I will say that again. You should never do any type of shoulder pressing movement the day before a bench session. I have learned this the hard way many times, and I've tried different ways to go about it to make it work. It simply does not work. You will immediately be affected on your bench press the next day if you train shoulders in a pressing movement the day beforehand. So when shoulder pressing is thrown in the program, make sure you have at least a day of rest before you train bench press. So for instance, a good way to go about it would be train shoulders and arms on a Saturday, and maybe then your next bench day would be a Monday. So, and keep shoulder presses probably to one time a week too, just because of all the other pressing volume you'll be doing. Now, when it comes to other shoulder movements, I hammer them. I throw in side laterals on every single upper day. It can be a one-arm side lateral, it can be a cable side lateral, it can be a two-arm dumbbell side lateral, some type of side lateral, because a lot of people I see, especially, a lot of guys have just droopy shoulders. They have good, nice, big arms, and I suffered from this for a long time. And they have, really nice, good arms, but when you look at their shoulders, they're like deflated pretty much. A good way to fix this is just throw in side laterals, 3 sets on every upper day, and just, hammer them. You try throwing heavier ones in at the beginning of the week, and then go to lighter week at the end of the week with some drop sets, run the rack sets, strip sets, doesn't matter. Anything you find that just fun, hammer those side laterals big time. Another thing is face pulls. I pretty much do face pulls 2 to 3 times a week, depending on which block I'm in. I really believe face pulls are a great target for all-in-one movement for traps, rear delts, and just general shoulder health too. Putting your shoulders in that movement after, say, a bench press is a very good place to be in. Also, some blocks I will also throw in reverse flies. Not all the time, just because sometimes they don't make sense. If you do a ton of back work, a ton of back volume, tons of rows and pull downs, I really don't think bent over shoulder flies are needed, to be personally honest. I think they can help to a degree for mainly rehab issues and mainly shoulder prevention, because you don't go heavy on reverse shoulder flies. But for the most part, if you train back the way I recommend you train back, you pretty much don't need reverse shoulder flies in your program. I recommend them maybe occasionally, but don't put a huge focus on it. It's not a huge mass builder. I know people swear by them, but it's just, I don't think personally there is much focus needed as, say, a bent over row or something like that. That puts a lot more tension and intensity into a movement on the same muscle groups lifted. And then front shoulders. So for some reason in this last 5 years, bodybuilding has really stopped throwing in front raises. You don't see people do front raises anymore. It's really weird. You ask people why, and they say, well, I press all this weight. I don't need to do front raises. And you look at their chest, and they're like, the rigid outer line of their chest is like non-existent, and it kind of just runs in their arm, and it kind of gives it that flat effect. And also, you just don't see people doing front raises anymore. I question this, why? Arnold used to do tons of front raises, and he used to do tons of presses. And so did Frank Zane. He believed in that too. And I recommend personally doing alternating dumbbell front raises. I recommend doing plate front raises, so hold on to like a 45-pound plate and just do reps, 12 to 15 reps. What else? Let's see here. Also, one that I occasionally do is reverse grip. Got this one from Daniel and Bailey. Reverse grip, easy bar front raises. So load stuff up on a easy bar and use reverse grip and both arms up at the same time in front of you. Front raises are useful. Do they build any more? Do they contribute to any more pushing strength? Possibly. It's hard to say. Mainly, just it's for aesthetic reasons to do them. But even that, though, if you're trying to get, just a better looking chest, I recommend front raises for sure. Next up is arms. This is one people look at my program and is like, wow, why? So for me, I train arms pretty much every upper day. And even, the pull-ups on my lower days will hit arms. So I'm pretty much hitting arms every single day of the week. Reason being, for me, arms have always been a strong and a not so strong point. What I mean by that is I've had times in my life where I've thought arms were doing good, and then I've had other times where I'm like, damn, I got pretty awesome arms. So for me, I just like throwing in some arms on every single day. I like training them heavier in the beginning of the week, and I also use a heavier type of blood flow restriction technique too. I use blood flow restriction 3 times a week. I do it on my upper heavy day, I do it on my medium upper day, and I do it on my lightweight heavy day. And in those rep ranges, I do anywhere from, in blood flow restriction wise, I do anywhere from 15 to 30 reps, or actually 10 to 30 reps on my heavier days. When it comes to other movements, I prefer just using just regular, dumbbell curls, easy curls. For triceps, biceps are pretty simple. Biceps are 2 heads. You got 2 heads to the bicep. Pretty much just, make sure you're doing some type of hammer curl during the week, or reverse grip curl, and also a regular curl. And your bases are covered. Throw that in a few times a week, you're good to go. For triceps are a little more difficult because every pushing movement involves triceps, so you'll have some carryover effect from that. And also, the triceps have 3 heads. So the 3 heads of the triceps are worked through different ways. For instance, you should target one of your tricep movements should be an over the head type of movement. One of them should be a type of pressing or a dip movement, and one should be a push down movement. As long as those 3 movements are in there, and you obviously do presses, so mainly just focus on an overhead movement and a push down movement or a skull crusher, and you'll be targeting all 3 heads of the tricep. Legs. So legs are, I keep legs super simple. I have a squat movement. I have, for me, I can only do Romanian deadlifts with dumbbells since you know my history, 2 herniated discs. So I do Romanian deadlifts with dumbbells, and then I also do a lot of leg curls, leg extensions. I do lunges 1 time a week. And that's pretty much it. I also throw in blood flow restriction for legs one time a week too as well. And, legs pretty much just, they can be not as many exercises, but more sets. So for instance, on my upper days, I'm only doing 3 sets of exercises. I might do anywhere from 4 to 5 sets on leg days, just because there's less exercises. I can spend more time on each one. And just, make sure you're doing a squat a couple times a week, some type of hamstring work. Leg extensions are really not needed. I personally throw them in because I don't squat nearly as much as I used to, so I need to throw in extra quad volume to maintain size on quads. But keep it pretty simple. It's pretty basic. Also, calf raises. Make sure you're throwing a standing calf raise in, and maybe the next week do a seated calf raise. If you're training legs 2 times a week, you'll be plenty fine with that. And the last but not least, for some reason everyone's favorite, abs. So abs, I do every upper day. So I train abs 3 days a week, I guess. Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, my 3 upper days. So for abs, I keep it really extremely simple as well. I'll do maybe some crunches. I'll do some twisting crunches. I'll do some bicycle. I prefer 20 to 30 reps. And I do maybe like 5 exercises, just knock them out and call it a day. Super simple. And I believe most of your core definition and strength actually is built from squats, deadlifts, any compound exercises, and proper bracing. Yes, you can define your abs maybe a little bit more by adding in extra ab work, but it shouldn't be the main focus. So, a little longer video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy it, give it a like, and we'll see you guys next week.